Hi everyone and welcome back. In CyberSec, we have the term that you will come to see often, which is a threat actor, and we need to understand what threat actors are. We also want to understand why they are carrying out their attacks, how, the methods they use, their intent or motives, which is key, which will help distinguish them. And we tend to think of these as hackers as a really big generalization, but it can be made up of a range of specific actor types. But before we start examining some threat actors, I always enjoy showing these type of videos to help give an example of hacking, if I could put air quotes, when we think of some of these terms and give you an example of what would be a more realistic scenario. So I'm only going to show a short clip of this. This is a video on YouTube that you can find here. You can see the link mentioned right here called What People Think Programming Is versus How It Actually Is. And this kind of relates to hacking as well, as an example of people thinking that it's just basically programming at the speed of light to carry out these hacks. So I always enjoy these type of videos, as you can see how people think programming is versus how it actually is once we get to that point. All right, so you could see the difference there. It's just a funny video that I like to incorporate to try and explain, to start getting you thinking about some of these terms that we're going to discuss. So the first thing up is script kiddies. You will hear this term mentioned quite often. These are individuals with, let's say, very limited knowledge of cybersec or programming, scripting, etc. They basically can take a pre-built piece of malware or exploit kit and deploy it. Although it sounds like they are not as much of a threat, this could be one of the most dangerous and active threat actors due to the ease of use and amount of attacks, in my opinion. Attacks can be motivated by desire to impress friends or other hackers, using ready-made exploit kits or separate programs because they're unable to write their own malicious tools. I don't think the term emphasizes the danger enough, since we're seeing more and more tools released or leaked from legitimate hacking organizations, dangerous hacking organizations, I should say. So these tools are being leaked, and a script kiddie could take a already built exploit kit and deploy it. So I think the script kiddie notion doesn't emphasize the danger enough, in the sense of downplaying the seriousness of the threat from these kind of actors and the risk. Next up, we have the hacktivists. Hacktivist groups really aim to bring attention to an issue, a person or organization that they want to positively or negatively promote or disclose information about. Organized crime, pretty straightforward, consists of organized groups really intent on making money or profit from cybersecurity operations. And then we have nation states. Nation-state hacking or threats are very dangerous. This is because they are normally extremely sophisticated. They also have the resources to continue and carry out these sophisticated attacks on a large scale, usually with 0 days or exploits unknown. I think that they should be on the scope of companies or organizations, depending on the area that they work in, to be alert because of the amount of resources that they have. And as an example of this, and this can be my pure opinion, but normally hackers, organized crime groups will always weigh that ROI or return on investment. If you can make the target hardened and extremely hard to penetrate or hack, it can really help dissuade those type of threat actors, since it's not worth the time to try and hack. In some, this is a generalization, programmers, after a while, maybe they can be lazy hackers, they can get lazy for that ROI, and they don't want to spend more time if it's not worth it. But with nation states, the danger here is it might not be motivated strictly by profit, and they have the resources where they don't have to worry about ROI, the time it would take to carry out an attack. They have the resources to pursue it. They have sophisticated means to pursue it. So nation state actors are, again, highly sophisticated. They possess a large amount of resources and are able to really carry out large scale and advanced APTs. And we're going to get to APTs in a second. Okay, so I really like Kaspersky's definition of APTs, and I added the link for those of you who are interested in any further information. They define APTs as the name of advanced suggests an advanced persistent attack, uses continuous, clandestine, and sophisticated hacking technique to gain access to a system and remain inside for a prolonged period of time with potentially destructive consequences. Advanced persistent threat groups have become increasingly active, especially as nations carry out cyber warfare on political, economic, military, and commercial infrastructure. So backing up to the nation states, we can see that they possess the means of these APTs, and this is another reason that makes them so dangerous. Not concerned with ROI, have the resources to carry out these attacks. Next up, we have insiders, and insiders can be a very serious potential threat because they have direct access and knowledge of a company's internal operations, architecture, structure, organization. Think about an employee working at a company for 3, 5, 10 years, and imagine how much knowledge that they have about operations. They might also have access to sensitive data or systems as well. They might also be more difficult to spot since they're familiar or continue to operate within the system. But you have to also consider the why or the motive, and it can be a few things. Maybe these insiders are seeking financial compensation, financial gain from exploiting an internal system. Maybe they want retribution for a company. But insiders can also be from negligence. And I think this is huge because we need to start upscaling employees to have more knowledge and skills in place so simple mistakes are not made, which could lead to a ton of substantial damage. It could be something that's overlooked, a process or policy that's not in place to catch these type of mistakes. So it doesn't have to be nefarious in that sense. It can be strictly from negligence, which, okay, it is negligence. This is something we have to address. And one of my goals is to definitely help upscale employees because we have to put preventions in place, especially to prevent mistakes that can come from negligence. All right. Next up, we have competitors. Competitors also need to be included because we can see competitors' motive to possibly obtain information about a rival. It could be a company, with a rival company, and there are legal options to use. Open source intelligence is another option, but due to the potential for profit, that motive, it increases the threat from a competitor due to this. A really straightforward example doesn't really require too much technical sophistication if we're referring to a hack. Could be something such as hiring an employee from a competitor. Imagine with the tech giants or any company, hiring a senior level employee and the amount of information that this employee could potentially provide about secure systems, especially if it's, let's say, a proprietary system or proprietary tech in development. Especially now we have things in AI, machine learning, self-driving cars, robotics, drones. A senior level, it doesn't even have to be a senior level. Any engineer, any team member, developer, anyone that's on that team might have access or might have substantial knowledge about how that system was built, the technology it uses. And we've all heard stories related to this. Okay, so that's a general overview of each to help start thinking about the motive behind specific types, what resources they might possess, the level of sophistication with the actors, and how we can think to help identify any potential threats. This is going to allow us to carry out our defensive tactics to identify specific vulnerabilities within systems. We have to keep these in mind to identify threats and possibly be on the lookout for any possible issues from threats. All right, so I've rambled on enough in this lecture. Let's close it out here. I think it might be a good idea to possibly take a break and grab some water. Always nice to stretch the legs as well. Highly recommended. You can always go for a short walk to get some exercise, 10, 15 minutes. Always helps give you more energy, more clarity, more focus. As much as we are focusing on learning about cybersecurity, we also have to take care of ourselves so we can become better cybersecurity engineers. So I'm going to go take a short break. And next up, we're going to examine types of hats. So may sound strange, types of hats, but let's take a look in the next video.